Good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Talk, Real Men, Raw, Real Men, Real Talk, Raw. It don't matter. It's all the same. It is Friday evening. It is 5:05 or so on a 5:06 out west here in Pacific Standard Time, and it is 8 o'clock East Coast time. If you're in the mountain zone, like my beautiful guest Deb is, she is 6 o'clock. We apologize for a slight delay. We had a bit of a challenge there. Once again, technology works, and when it doesn't work, we have to figure out how to navigate around it. So we got through that. But welcome to the show, and I am excited to have Debbs Debb on, as she is known by her social media name. And while we're waiting for some guests to come on, I'm going to push out the show to a couple of my personal pages. So while we do that, I'm going to invite Deb to share a little bit about her background, where you're from, and just a little bit of background about yourself, and then I'll come right back on screen in a moment once I've got my page up and running.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me. My name is Debbie. About 2 years ago, something pretty tragic happened to me. I was raped. I was online dating gone pretty bad, I would say. That's not kind of where it's where it started, but it's not where it finished. After I called the RCMP, they sent one lone male officer to take my statement. In doing so, the officer proceeded to put his personal judgments and he did everything but take my statement, be professional and be empathetic, be compassionate. He actually went into detail about the difference between penetration and foreplay and how he'd have to go over that with his supervisor in the morning. Just made me feel very, very vulnerable, as I already was, with having another male in the room with me. I decided that, being from a customer experience background, I'm customer service, and I take pride in how I treat my customers, and I treat them empathy. I treat them better than what someone who's there to serve and protect me did. So I filed a formal complaint and went to media about it. And we actually changed the process a little bit about how first responders come out to treat rape victims and people who've been assaulted. They have to actually give a card out now. All I received was one little card without his name, with a number of victim services. This happened at 1 o'clock a.m. I couldn't call them. It was not 24 hours. So the card that now has to go out and be given has a list of 24-hour support, everything where you might need help. Also, they have to write the file number down. We created change because of this mistake.
What I'd like to do, Deb, is kind of go back a little bit. You jumped right into the story, which is cool and all, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about you, and it really allow you to introduce yourself to the community. This actually happened. It was about 2.5 years ago.
About 2 years ago, yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned that at the time you met this guy through like a social media, an online dating service app of some sort.
Correct.
I assume you had used an app like that prior, and obviously hadn't had problems, or was this the first time you had used an app?
No, I was quite familiar with it, and I met some pretty awesome people through it. I was comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And at that time, had you been had you been married before? I believe you have a
I was
child.
married. I was married
Okay.
and have one child, yes.
Okay. And how old is your child now?
9.
Okay, beautiful. So here you are, you're maybe a single mom, and you're doing what millions of men and women do, which is in the old days, when I was dating, we didn't have apps, we didn't have social media, we didn't have different tools to find dates. So we went the old traditional way. And nowadays, it's totally different. Matter of fact, my son in New York just did a documentary he worked on that was on HBO back in September, called Swipe. And the whole documentary, it's all about how online dating has changed the whole experience for people. And but unfortunately, your story was not included in that documentary. They didn't go there. And I want to thank you for having, first and foremost, the courage to come on here today. I met Deb through my community, I believe. Somehow we got connected. I believe that you also reached out to me shortly thereafter. I don't know if we met through Spirituality Gone Wild or exactly, maybe you know, but
it was on the Genius group, I believe, from Jay Shetty.
Okay, yeah, through Jay Shetty's. You are a genius in Jay Shetty's Genius group, which is it's a private community group that anyone is welcome to join. That she understands the value of coaching and mentoring that takes place on a very global basis. So through the Genius group, Deb and we've met people all over the world. Deb is based in Canada. I'm based here in the United States, and I've got friends today people that reach out to me through PMs and through video chats, and we talk for sometimes an hour on end about life. I've had women reach out to me that have been struggling in relationships at home with their husbands, and looking for advice, looking for some coaching. And I've had those opportunities. I've had the opportunities for young men that are looking to get into motivational speaking, and they want to be in the business that they think looks really, really, really like a business of paying it forward and giving back. And so it's just been a beautiful experience being part of that community. And through the grace of God, you and I met, and it was shortly thereafter that you reached out to me in a private message and said, I'd really like to be on your show. And at that point, I said, Deb, this is a show for men, about men. And although so many of the audience, the people in the community that watch us live and on replay are women. And I believe that's so because women are always trying to figure out men. Women are trying to figure us out, and we're trying to figure you guys out. Like, how do can we all just get along?
Let's just get along.
And so that's how we met. And you shared a lot of your story with me. You forwarded me, I believe, some of the publications and some of the work that you have accomplished through your advocacy work that you've done. You've become such a strong advocate for change in the process. And I want to definitely get into that a little bit. But I wanted to just share also that through Deb immediately introduced me to Michael Cameron, who I had on my show. It was a week or two ago on a Tuesday. That was the day, if you recall, that was a 3-year anniversary that his girlfriend Colleen had been murdered. And you had met Michael, I think, because you both you're based out of Alberta?
Edmonton. Yeah, he had, I shared my story with the Humans at Edmonton experience, and he shared his story there, and he connected with me and went for coffee, and we just kind of connected and had a really good conversation of change.
And so you both are advocates of change, and you both really have done a phenomenal job in taking action instead of reaction. I believe both of you have taken action. Reaction to a devastating experience like you've went through, and millions and millions of women across the world, globally speaking, have either been sexually accosted, sexually abused, or further to the extent of having been raped. And when you and I connected a couple of months ago, and I did all the research on you, and I learned about your story in depth. I was so impressed with how you had the courage to step forward, whereas I don't know what the percentage of women are that do not step forward because of all of the concerns that they have about how it's going to affect their life. And there's always that part, I believe, that's some embarrassment and some guilt and shame, feeling like somehow you are to blame. And so I'd like to ask you a little bit about that right now. How did you go through those emotions and those feelings to be able to initially take action rather than reaction, because that's a part of the story that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Because your story didn't begin and end with the rape, and it didn't begin and end with activating change in the process. There's so much more. There's so many more layers to your story. And by the way, I love your shirt. True
Thank
Science
you.
is a great, great affirmation.
I wear it and I love it. I get so many amazing reactions, and so many people come to me and just they want to talk to me when I wear it. Pick a shirt out, guys.
So there you go. You see, I talked about that. Earlier this week, I think in my launch, I did a blog on the launch of the product line, Choose Apparel, and I talked about in my blog about how what really started this for us was when Mary was wearing her Choose Kind T-shirt, and the reactions and actions she received from the general public, people should have known, was phenomenal. We could feel their energy shift and her attitude change, and that just spurred the whole thing of, considering how we've gone through our own healing journeys, the two of us together, we realized that there's so many choices that we have today that we didn't know we had before. And how do we push that out there? How do we help continue to educate people that we don't have to just live in the pain, whatever that pain is, whatever that discomfort is that we have choices. And what not a better way than to remind ourselves, when I wear a shirt like this, it's kind of like, let's say like a policeman or a fireman. When they're in their uniform, they consciously are aware that they're not supposed to be misbehaving. They're supposed to be at their best behavior because they're in uniform. When I wear a shirt like this, and today it was integrity, I was very much aware of what shirt I was wearing all day. And I clearly knew that no matter what I faced in the day, and I had to make some calls today that were not so easy. There were some difficulties, and I had to deal with some health insurance issues once again where they were denying claims. And of course, it was mistakes, either on their part or the hospital. And so my point is like I didn't lose control. I just kept my dignity and grace because I knew that I was representing what I was wearing today, And yesterday was gratitude. So that smile was on my face all day long. Even when perhaps I was tired and I wasn't feeling it, but I just knew I just had to stay in gratitude. So it's a great tool. And I know that before we get back into your story, we had a beautiful conversation yesterday. And part of it was somehow we stumbled upon the whole issue of, I talked about what I learned early on in my healing process 3 years ago is that when I started my process, I didn't know what I was feeling, and I didn't know how to even express what my feelings were, except just a few of the negative ones, which is anger, resentment, guilt, shame, and blame. Those 5 were definitely my steadfast. Those are my rock. I knew how to go there, but I didn't know how to navigate through them in a healthy way, certainly. And I certainly didn't know how to experience the healthy emotions that are part of what make us up as well. And so through that, I said, one of the things I learned early on was that in order for me to heal, I had to first feel, and then I had to be willing to reveal. And then when I would raise my hand and reveal what it was that I was feeling, thus began the healing process. And so for you today, and leading up to today, all of these months over the past 2.5 years, I believe that what you did as part of your healing process is that you allowed yourself to feel, and through that you began to reveal what you were feeling, and that led to the healing. But it wasn't, it's simple, but it's not easy. And there's where I'd like to go with you. So, shortly thereafter the event, tell me if you could share with me and the community, what did that feel like for you? If you're able to go there right now, that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. I obviously felt very vulnerable after it happened. I didn't really understand what happened. It took me a couple hours. I messaged my friend and said, I think I was raped. I'm not sure. She's like, Paul, if you said no, you need to call the cops. And if you call them and you feel regret after calling them, you can always cancel it. You can always retract it if you want to, but if you don't, you can regret it for the rest. So I did call the RCMP, and when he came, I and put even more judgment on me than I already had for myself. It did make me feel really even more vulnerable, almost worse than what had happened initially. I come from I'm very professional. I'm a professional person. If you have a job and your job is to protect and serve, then I have certain expectations of how you're going to handle a situation this sensitive. When that didn't happen, I realized that this must have happened to a lot more people than just me. And since being a professional person, I know that you have to go higher, go up more, and let your story be known that you were mistreated, that what happened wasn't my fault. It was a fault of a system, a faulty system that there's cracks. It needs to be fixed. Where I work, there's so many processes. There's so many things that I can change. And all I have to do is say something to my manager or to someone higher and say, hey, this would work a lot better if we did this. So it is ingrained in me that it can get better. If I was treated poorly or if a process doesn't work, all I have to do is speak up and say, hey, I have 3 ideas. I always tell people around me is you can't complain unless you have 3 solutions. If you have a complaint, then you have to have 3 solutions that's going to work for you. And that's what I did. That's what I did. I said the process where I first called the RCMP needs to change. They need to send out a SART nurse immediately, which is they can come to my house, the nurses, and do the rape kits there. The officer didn't know that. He should have, but he didn't, and he told me that I didn't need one. Yeah, it made me feel very vulnerable. But I also was able to see where the cracks are and kind of fill them in, and we were able to create change. So, I mean, as terrible as the thing that did happen to me, I have been able to change it for other people around me.
Now, the changes that you have helped to implement, is this just in Edmonton, or is this nationwide in Canada?
This is Canada. It's not mandatory for them, but it is there, and it is. I hope I want to fight for it to be mandatory. That they give the card out anytime, but they have it there. If they don't have the training, if they don't have the empathy, that card is the empathy, right?
So when you got busy pretty quick, and from my understanding, and my sense is that it was a really healthy distraction for you.
Oh, in a way, I kind of got angry, and that's how I felt I needed to tell everybody and essentially reveal it. By me being so open, I'll give you a little backstory because our family, we didn't have it easy growing up. We had a lot of problems that all just came at us all at once. And my mom dealt with it, but what we would do is we would talk it out. No matter how loud it got, no matter how uncomfortable it was, we would talk it out and work through it. And then we'd come back and say, okay, those feelings were huge, but look, we have each other. We still have, and we can fix it. We can work through it. So that was my background as well growing up, and talking about it really helped me to heal. And so that's revealing everything. I have to let it all out. So.
Wow, what a gift that was. And I wonder if you knew that leading up to this event, that because of the type of home you grew up in, that the foundation was laid. I mean, it made it so much easier for you because you already had it in your DNA. It was learned behavior. Other people grew up in homes where it's a no talk zone. Yeah. And the talk is, if either a no talk zone or it's limited, there's restrictions around what is going to be talked about. And I could tell you that I didn't grow up in a home like you. You know, my family members may not agree with me, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But that was, my experience was that we were in a no talk zone. There were things that we were just not going to talk about. It doesn't mean that we didn't laugh. It doesn't mean that there were times we didn't get silly. But when it came down to the serious stuff, It just, we didn't have that. I didn't have that type of foundation that you had. It was just different for us. So that, what a gift you were given. That really, probably you're aware of that now. Were you aware of it prior to that event, that that it really was a positive, healthy style that you were taught?
Yeah. We got professional help going through this whole, because we were going through so much. So we got family counseling, and I met an amazing counselor. Liam, if you're watching this, thank you. He's still part of my life. I've known him since I was 6 or a little bit older, maybe 9. But he helped us effectively communicate when we do have problems. I knew that is a skill that I had. That's why I'm an escalations manager. I take people's really bad stuff, and I can talk them through it and fix it for them. So in my mind, I can talk myself through it and fix it for me too. It was something that I knew that I possessed. That's a skill that I do definitely have, and I acknowledge that for sure. And it's something that my family and my mom, especially, who's definitely been that. She's not a quiet person. She doesn't know the whisper voice. She can't whisper, but that's okay, because that's her voice and that's who she is. And she's always been loud and proud, and that's kind of who I am too.
Speaking of acknowledging, I'd like to take just a second here, just a moment, to welcome people who have joined us tonight on the live show. If you're live, thank you so much for being here today. If you hear something that resonates with you, something that hits your heart, hits your soul, hit love, hit like, share your comments, ask questions. Kimberly, thank you for being here this evening. Anita, thanks for joining us. Who else we got? We got Ida Pizzo. Emily, I believe, Rosario. Emily has been a steadfast rock over the past 30 days in my life. She has just shown up every single day and have been just an absolute support system for me in my healing, going through my water fast. And I've been watching her now prepare for her own healing journey that she is embarking on. Maria, thanks for joining us. Kimberly says, I want to share this comment. She says, I want to be an advocate for children that have been molested. My daughter was at age 7, and I was not believed. My daughter is 10, and with the person that abused her, fighting in court still, my heart goes out to you. Oh. Kimberly, thank you so much.
Kimberly, if you're in Canada, there's a group called UBACA. They're Urban Bulldogs Against Kids Abuse, and they're a bunch of amazing bikers that can help support you. I think they're in the States too, actually, but you should reach out to them. They'll give you support. I also advocate for a lot of issues. There was a molestation case at West Edmonton Mall. There were 6 girls that were molested, and the media wasn't covering it. I got involved and got those guys involved. I did a photo shoot. I'm a photographer, everyone. I love photography. I see people's souls. I can help through photography, and that's my goal, is to help through photography. But I did a photo shoot for domestic abuse. It was the 3rd annual walk in Sherwood Park, and these guys were there, and I'm like, you guys are amazing. There's these 20 bikers, and they have they're there to support these kids. So I contacted and kept in contact with them and said, you guys, we need to show up for these girls. And we had to get a bigger courtroom because they weren't expecting 40 big bikers helping and supporting these girls. It was beautiful. Wow. So reach out to UBACA, Urban Bulldogs Against Kids Abuse.
She's in Sacramento. Kimberly just shared that she's in Sacramento.
They'll be there.
I also want to welcome Becky to the show. Alexandra Bauer. Alexandra's husband Justin was on my show. I believe it was last Sunday. Retired professional tennis player. Just an absolutely beautiful family. And they have become friends of ours in our new community here in Scottsdale. Getting back to your story. So you took action and you got real busy. And I as I shared earlier, a large part of it, I believe, is when we face some significant trauma. A lot of people take action right away. I've got a childhood family friend that lost 2 friends from childhood. They're not like current friends, but when childhood friends, we went to school together, grade school. both of them lost a child in that Florida massacre last year. And one of them, Fred, I believe his name is, well, Guttenberg, he got real busy. He became a huge advocate for gun laws in the United States. And not a friend of the Republicans, but he certainly is a friend of people that believe that there should be some restrictions. But this show is not about guns. This show is about your story, and I do want to get back to that. So, from your perspective, tell me what transpired for you once you started to see progress was being made and changes was happening, and you were a large part of that in the country of Canada.
Mm.
What transpired for you personally since you made those advances on behalf of all the women and children?
Well, definitely. I went to Global News, but one of the biggest reveals for me was on the Humans of Edmonton experience. I guess you can say it's similar to Humans of New York, but I wrote out how I felt when I posted it, and it's funny when you have your own story, you don't really feel the empathy that you would to somebody else who it happened to. You feel because you know everything that happened. You judge yourself sometimes, and it's natural. But when I read it through someone else's eyes and read other people's comments, other people's support, that really helped me to say, okay, I'm going to heal from this because this has happened to other people, and I'm helping other people heal. I went through a pretty dark phase. I actually, this is blonde. I was pretty dark hair too. I dyed my hair blonde about a week ago. I'm naturally blonde, and I went dark because I felt dark. I was in the dark, and nobody really knew it because I kept so quiet and I kept so in my shell and my armor, and I had that protection. But not too long ago in April, I don't like to call it a mental break because it didn't break me. It's a mental build. But I did require to receive help. And only through that is how I was able to actually fully heal, is on all levels of receiving. And it was so hard for me to receive help or to ask for help or anything because I'm strong. I didn't need it. I believed my story that I could get through this alone, but I needed help, and I still reach out for help now. And I think that's one message I will share with everyone, is that don't be afraid to reach out to people. People are there to help you. You're not a nuisance.
Up until that event that happened in April where you decided you needed help, how were you navigating through the emotions of the rape? And up until that point, because you said you didn't think you needed it, so what were you doing for yourself?
Well, what I was doing is I was focusing on the officer a little too much. It was more of a distraction for me. I didn't really focus on me and what happened to me, and I was violated. I was so gung-ho on what you did and how you treated me as a professional person. You didn't treat me with respect. You treated me so much apathy. I had evidence, and he forgot to take it with him, and he said, "Oh, I'll pick it up later." Just so apathetic. I focused on that, and I didn't focus on me. So I wasn't working on me. I was just surviving. I was in survival mode the whole time, until the mental build, I say. But after that, I was able to build a foundation, and I'm still building. And I cry at every opportunity there is to cry at. So there might be tears today, but I'm not going to apologize for them because they're my true emotions.
I love that. I love that, and I love you, Deb.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. You just got me.
Oh, I told you I'd make somebody cry today.
That's my job. That's what I'm being paid to do. That's Barbara Walters. I was a kid when she was in her prime, and that was always her objective. When she interviewed people, her intention was to get them to come home to the heart, to the soul, and to have that moment of just this pure emotion, whatever was behind that. And but she just got me. It's I had to learn the hard way too, that how we heal is by allowing ourselves to feel it, whatever that is. And so much of the time now, When I get emotional, and emotional for me is not screaming and yelling and raging, it's just tearing up. And you know, today, if it doesn't happen like regularly, I have an awareness like, uh-oh, am I going back to being frozen? Because for me, what's behind the tears when I realized, I think I was just about a year into my own, at the time, recovery. And I came up with my story as to what's behind the tears and the emotions is that most of my life I was so frozen
Mm.
in self. I was so frozen and detached from how I was feeling that I couldn't cry. I had no tears to shed. If I cried more than 5 times in 30 years in my marriage, that was, I think, a lot. I mean,
Wow.
I just didn't do it. And and when I started to raise my hand, literally raise my hand early on in my recovery period, when I knew what I needed, the help I needed was I needed to get into 12-step programs for my own self. And when I started to raise my hand and share my truths, all of the truths, even the ones that people are not willing to put out in public, I started to get emotional. I started to cry. And for me, what that was is that it was my brain thawing out,
Yeah.
because my brain, my emotions were on such ice. I was an ice cube. I was cold. And I mean that not just, I mean that in all levels. I was cold. I didn't behave like a nice guy. I had no empathy for people. I had no compassion. I was very self-centered. I didn't have the ability to feel other people's pain.
Yeah.
Um, it was very
I
hard.
understand
But today I feel, and the feeling is that it's my brain thawing out, and
that.
that's the tears. The tears are the ice thawing. And I
Yeah.
don't ever want to be back to being frozen. It's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Because I know, I'm sure for you, when you get emotional, it kind of takes away that bondage feeling. It gives you relief. It kind of takes the power away from whatever that negative energy is that you're feeling.
I was gonna say, I after I was raped, I had a surgery planned for gastric bypass surgery. I chose to go through with it, and I didn't want him to dictate the rest of my life because here in Canada it takes about 3 years on the waiting list before you
Hmm.
can get the surgery. So I just decided to go through it. I didn't tell anyone. About 8 days after, I had staples in it. I needed them removed, and I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry for about 5 days. It was so hard for me to not be able to cry.
Hmm.
And I don't envy anyone who can't cry because holy man, it hurts. It hurts to keep it inside. I am not one to keep my emotions in ever in my whole life. Anger, rage, happiness. I'm a little bit too happy sometimes. I'm a lot for some people that can't express themselves. But to not be able to feel, to cry when I needed to was so excruciating. After I got that, I was able to. But yeah, it was tough. I completely can understand how hard it must have been for you for that long, not being able to cry.
You don't know what you don't know until you know
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I not only I didn't have the ability to really feel other people's pain, and I just stuffed mine. I was a very, 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 I performed very high in compartmentalizing.
yeah.
I did that really well. That's part of how I was able to survive some of the addictions or addictive behaviors that I had. And that's how I navigated. That was how I survived not being able to feel and reveal. I had addictions. I had addictions. Some of them were very open, and some of them were very secretive. Um, but the beautiful thing about going through the process of feeling, revealing, and healing is that when we come out on the other side,
Mm.
it just changes everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you prior to to your rape, and I didn't know you prior to your mental building process. But I could tell you what I have seen leading up to today over the past couple of months as we've built the friendship and we've spent a couple of intimate conversations through a video chat.
Mm-hmm.
And today, you have a very gentle soul. And yeah, it's
Thank
okay
you.
to receive that.
Thank you. You can make me cry now.
You know, it just comes through, you know? And you're just so gentle. And even if there's some residual anger there, you know, it's like, but I feel like you're on the other side now. I feel like you've made progress. Tell me what that feels like for you.
Yeah, it started actually August 17th was when I was raped 2 years ago. And in our group, Jay Shetty, the day before, he had a program about forgiveness. And it just came exactly when I needed it.
Yeah.
Exactly when I needed it. And I completely have forgiven. I was having a hard time. I forgave the rapist. I did, because he's just stupid. I mean, you're an idiot, but whatever. Like, you made a mistake, a big, 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 big mistake, and he took advantage of someone. But I did forgive him. I didn't forgive the officer, because to me, you were in a professional. You're professional. You're supposed to protect me, and you made me feel so much worse. So I had a hard time forgiving him. I also had a hard time forgiving myself. Once I had that session, though, and I think there was 3 on it, forgive us alone, in those 3 weeks, it really helped me plant the seed of self-forgiveness, self-love, acceptance of, yes, these things did happen, but I have to move on, just like I have, and I did. I fully accepted that people make mistakes, and he might need to be trained better. Hopefully he gets that card when he goes out to another case, or maybe me making a complaint he has a daughter, he has a wife. Maybe he can show some empathy towards that after, you know. So
the officer, you're referring to the officer.
The officer. Yeah,
I understand
that.
Yeah,
sorry.
So here's a question for you: have you had the opportunity to ever see him since the time you saw him when he came to your place?
The officer?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to. I would love an apology. I don't want him fired. I want him to learn. I want to talk to him. I would love to talk to him and say, you know, this is how you've affected me in my life. And I hope that I have created some kind of change in your life, that for the better, because we all need to learn through each other, and we can't do this alone. I've learned how to change a process, and it just takes being loud and noisy, loud and proud, like my mom was and is and has taught me. So I would love to sit down in a room with him and hope. I don't want to expect anything, but I would love an apology, just for his actions, how he treated me, how he made me feel. I would love to be able to accept that, but I have accepted it already.
You know, one of the things that Shetty talked about in that forgiveness group was, and I posted this on my page, is that forgiveness is accepting the apology you never get from that person.
Yeah.
Because as long as we're holding on to just hope that that individual is going to say what we need to hear, keeps us in a bondage, keeps us in something of that negative energy. And so, you know, that really resonated with me, because we as beings in this universe, we encounter hurtful moments all of the time, opportunities to get our feelings hurt, or to get our ego hurt, or you know, whatever it is, to feel like an injustice has been done. And someone like myself, and I'm sure you today, we don't do well with feelings of injustice, and we encounter them in the simplest ways, and some small and some big, but it still feels horrible. What I also gathered and what I learned from that coaching session over that 3 or 4 week period was that when I'm able to look at the act of what it was that caused me to feel hurt, or angry, or affected, resentful from that person that hurt me or devastated me in some way. When I'm able to really ask the question, what is it? What lesson did I need to learn from that experience? What did they teach me through that act? Because once we can identify what it was that we needed to learn, we then don't have to hold on to the anger anymore. We could forgive them, because once we understand the lesson that we get from it, we just got a gift. Now, it certainly didn't feel like a gift 2.5 years ago. It certainly didn't feel like a gift when you were mistreated and the case was mishandled by the authorities. But are you aware of what gifts you have received from
100%.
Both exchanges? Are you willing to share that with the community?
Yeah, completely. So one thing that I've learned through Jay Shetty as well, I do mention that a lot, but he has changed my life. I was hospitalized for a month, and I just had signed up for the Jay Shetty Genius Group like 3 days prior. It was all about confidence. And one of the things that really, really resonated with me was when I'm going through a tough time where something has happened that it makes me just want to rage, these 3 sentences: I'm grateful for this moment. What can I learn? How can I grow? And those 3 things have changed my outlook on everything. Traffic jams, I no longer go, oh, you stupid driver. I'm good. I'm just like, okay, what can I learn? How can I grow? This has taught me, and that speaking up because of injustice I've helped so many people. I have so many of my friends on Facebook that have come to me and said they can't speak up because of family issues, because of anything, but I'm that voice for them, and they thank me. And there's so many women that have come to me, men too, that have come to me with their own stories, and I've helped them to be able to accept it too. So that's a gift.
So a slogan that Mary has embraced about 2 years ago, and she's held on to it dear to her soul, is today she has a voice and she has a choice.
I love that.
Thus, choose kind, choose compassion, choose forgiveness. And that's just so powerful, when, so many children, male and female, grow up into adulthood, and they are wounded, and they've dealt with traumas, all kinds of traumas. We all have, some big, some small, but who are we to measure someone else's trauma?
Exactly.
The trauma, if it's affected you and I, it's big. And when we don't understand that we can make a difference, that we have a voice, and we just have to learn how to have the courage to put it out there. Because one thing that I've learned in my own healing process is that the truth is the truth. Even if you don't agree with my truth, what I believe to be my truth, that's okay. You don't have to believe it. There's a saying, it's none of my business what you think of me. And here's where the voice comes in, because all we have to do is be willing to speak up and speak our truth. And as long as there's somebody somewhere that's willing to listen and hear it, and either be able to have empathy or compassion, and be willing to become part of the change train, then we've succeeded. As long as we impact one more person's life. If you have that voice, and you had a choice to come on here or not today. You've had a choice to do the work you've done to advocate for change in your nation. What a beautiful gift that you have given to other families, other women, other men, other children, other grandparents, people in service that didn't know. Maybe this officer isn't ready to acknowledge and hold himself accountable for the mistakes he made. I wasn't willing to hold myself accountable for any of my mistakes for 54 years of my life. But everything's changed in the last 3 years. Everything's changed for me. I hold myself accountable. As soon as I am aware that I messed up or I screwed up, I put it out there.
Yeah,
So there's where the hope comes in. There's hope, Deb, that perhaps, he's just not ready. The teacher shows up when the student is ready.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That day will come, perhaps. And if it doesn't come, that's okay too, because, you can take away the lessons, and you just by having a voice and putting yourself out there, you have impacted other women and other men's life that have been raped or sexually accosted by somebody else. There's no doubt that you have touched probably thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the last 2.5 years that you were just not aware of it. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to put that out there because I want to acknowledge that. And when I say that you are just an absolutely gentle, beautiful woman,
thank you.
I feel it, and I am grateful that you reached out to me, and that we met through the community, through the private genius group, because through that we get to bless each other's lives, and we get to learn from one another. We get to help one another. Yep. And you have been very much a very big part of my life for the past couple of months. You've really stepped up and stepped in to my world. And, each relationship that changes today, for me at least, and I know you probably can understand what I'm talking about here, is each one is just a gift. Each one, each touch, each moment of connection, that interpersonal connection that we have when we're able to just be honest and truthful and share our truths, it changes everything. It changes the experience. And so I want to thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I just wanted to say, like, by me opening up and being honest with so many amazing people have stepped into my life and changed so much. Like I received so much love and amazing comments, and I go through those comments all the time when I'm feeling low, and I go through and read them, and it's so inspiring to see how many people just truly love me, and I can then give that love back to myself when I'm not feeling it,
Thank you for sharing that. Barbara Taylor from Spirituality Gone Wild, she's moderating tonight, and I want to thank Barbara for showing up and being part of this show tonight. Barbara Taylor has asked a question, and I think it's a great question. She says, why do you feel guilty? You mentioned that a couple of times today.
I used to feel guilty. I used to feel guilty because I can read people. I'm really good at reading people. I can read. It's almost uncanny because I can feel emotions, right? So I'm good. And when I met that man who came and raped me, I felt really guilty because I'm like, how come I didn't read that? How come I didn't know that was going to happen? But I realized that I am not a mind reader. I can't read someone else's intentions. My intentions were to meet someone and talk and get to know each other. That's what not his were. And I don't feel guilty anymore at all. I have no guilt, absolutely none. And that's what's helped me heal.
Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull up one more statement here, and I'm going to share on this one. This is coming from Kimberly. She says, Kimberly, thank you. She says, I have taken 100 milligrams of Zoloft for the past 3 years. I had to take it to make the crying stop. I have been off it for over a month. It feels good to cry and have my feelings. It's healing. Well, Kimberly, you and I have something in common, except we don't. You see, what we have in common is that I too was on Zoloft, except the difference was I was on Zoloft for 21 years.
Wow.
Because that's what all of the psychiatrists that I saw over the 8 states that I lived in thought was what was good for me. Not only was I on Zoloft, I was also on Buspar. And I wasn't on either one of them for depression because I never felt like I suffered from depression. I suffered from anxiety. And instead of the professionals, trained professionals, suggesting to me that this is going to be a short-term bridge only to be used until we navigate you through, let's call it behavior modification, or mental health tools like EFT that John Fiore is an expert at, or others in this community that are EFT experts or certified practitioners, I should say, or any other modality. There's so many modalities out there to help people learn how to navigate through anxiety and through feelings. But see, what those drugs did to me was they numbed me out to where I had, that's part of my story. 21 years, I was on 2 mental health drugs. Now, if you want to call something an injustice, there is an injustice that I had no idea, because I didn't know what I didn't know until I woke up. And when I woke up, boy, did I wake up. I woke up and I wasn't no more than 3 months into my original, let's say, my recovery period of healing. And the question, I've shared this on the show before, was raised: do you think it's possible that you don't need those drugs anymore because you've detached from a lot of toxic situations going on that led up to you hitting rock bottom? And I was like, that's such an interesting question. I have no idea, because I've been on these drugs for so long and I have no idea what it's going to feel like to be off of them. But here's the game changer. I was willing to at least consider that question. I was willing to pause on it, process it, and then reflect, and then get educated. And I went and saw my psychiatrist and I said, here's what I want to do. I want off these meds as quickly as possible, but I want to do it in a safe way. So I'm paying you one last time to lead me down that path of coming off these drugs. It's been 21 years. And that was, in fact, the last time I saw that doctor, because I've been drug-free of mental health drugs now for 33 months. And I've shared, I've had breakthrough anxiety maybe 5 or 6 times. But you know what? I have healthy tools to reach for today. I don't reach for addictive behaviors. I don't reach for unhealthy things that are hurtful to me or hurtful to people that I care about. I know how to navigate through it. And I navigate through it just by putting it out there. I can say, you know what? I'm feeling like uncomfortable right now. I'm feeling anxious. And just by saying that, by able to go and, well, what are you feeling anxious about? And I could pinpoint it. Just by putting it out there, a lot of the time it relieves the power of it. Other times I just go, you know what, I'm going to go for a bike ride, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to take a nap, or I'm going to put music on, or maybe I need to just eat, maybe I'm hungry. Whatever it is, I'm able to usually navigate through what I'll call breakthrough anxiety. But here's the truth, is I'm a human being. We're going to have anxious moments. It's part of who we are. That's part of our genetic makeup. That's part of us being human. But this is what I also know is part of why when I went off those drugs, part of that thawing out process, what I mentioned earlier of the brain, was my brain was thawing out from being on those drugs for 21 years. And I was finally able to start to feel and then reveal, and through that, heal. What a beautiful experience. And so, Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing that. I want to acknowledge Sandy that joined our show. I believe Joe was on as well at some point, maybe still on, I'm not sure. Radha, thank you for being here. Dustin, Reed, thanks for joining us this evening. Karen Palmer, Joe Roon, thank you for being here. Karen Roth, Deborah, thank you for being here, joining the show this evening. Deborah placed an order today, or last night, about 10:30 last night. She ordered 3 shirts because she said there were too many choices. She didn't know what she wanted, so she said, I just got to order more than one. So she made a good choice. She bought 3. And I believe Choose Kindness was one of them. I believe Choose Gratitude was another. And the third one escapes me. She could post it if she's still on the show right now. But she's got her order in, and you've got an order coming. Deb's order is, she's got a t-shirt coming that says, choose, feel, reveal, heal. And she's got an event coming up. I think it's October 25th, and we're hopeful that she'll have it in time so she could wear it. She could wear it with humility to her event. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about that event that's coming up.
Yeah. So what I have chosen to do, I am a photographer, and the reason I bought a camera in the first place is to help obese people journal their journey and try to. I was 385 pounds. I've lost 200 pounds. Thank you. Through weight loss surgery, I had gastric bypass, and that's what's helped me. But after all that, there's a lot of skin, and there's a whole story behind why you get obese. And so what I've chosen to do is I actually chose to do it myself. It's called the Skin I'm In experience. It's on Facebook. I chose to be the first one to expose what it looks like after 200 pounds of weight gone. All that fat is gone. It's all skin that's left. And I had a lot. I had 10 pounds that they took off. So the project that I'm doing is I'm taking photos of these beautiful women and helping them to feel, to reveal, and then to heal. And those t-shirts I'm going to be giving to all the participants after. But at this event, I've been asked by Jerry from the Humans Edmonton Experience, the one that shared my story about being raped, also about my story about being obese and how it was living. He's having an event. He went to Haiti and did some photography there, some really lifestyle. He's asked me to speak for that and to kind of talk about the project that we're working on. And I think that t-shirt is going to be just so perfect for it.
I believe on your Facebook feed, you've got some photos posted of yourself.
Yes.
Before those surgeries to remove some of the skin.
Yeah, and I have an after picture. I had a month to raise $4,000, and I did it to get the skin removal surgery and a breast lift. I am now 13 weeks out. I had it August 23rd, I believe, and I've never felt better. And this project, I'm going to have 12 participants. I'm going to make a calendar, and all those participants, all the money going from that calendar is going to a trust fund to help them pay for their surgeries. Because I don't feel that after all that work that you go through that you should have to live with that. It's a lot of shame. It's a lot of extra care and infections. There's you name it, there is. So I want to help people feel beautiful again. I'm gonna make you cry again.
I'm just breathing right now.
That's okay.
Breathing is good too, breathing and pausing. Pausing is an uncomfortable moment for a lot of people. I've been in rooms with a lot of people and there's pause because no one has the courage to raise their hand and put what they're feeling out there, and there's that moment of quiet. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like quiet. I've learned how to just enjoy that moment, because when I just pause like I just did for that, it probably felt like 10 seconds. It was probably no more than 2.
Yeah, probably not.
It allows us to just sit in it, whatever it is, that feeling, that emotion. And through sitting in it, for me, it just bubbles up. It bubbles up from within and it comes out. It comes out sometimes in smiles. Sometimes it comes out in laughs. Sometimes it comes out in just tears of just gratitude, The fact that we're able to experience quiet, experience breathing. I don't know about you, but I have a suspicion that a lot of the time in the past 2.5 years, you were doing a lot of shallow breathing.
Oh yes, I just
beginning.
Yeah, I'm just starting to meditate. I have to meditate every day. I do 30 minutes of just taking a nice big deep breath and letting it out and releasing, and it's beautiful. Just breathing I'm grateful that I can.
So with the few minutes that we have left here, there's 2 things that come up for me. One is, where do we go from here now that all the children have grown up? It's a song or something like that. Where do we go from? I don't remember who sings that song, but where do you go from here? Like, what is in your future? Do you know? Do you have a sense of, are you doing what you want to be doing right now, or have you reached that place, or are you working towards something bigger and greater than where you're at right now?
There's so much more in store for me. I know it. I can feel it, and I know that by me sharing my story with you is only going to help inspire me to do so much more. I've been invited to speak in schools about bullying. I was bullied as a child, and my son's getting a little bit bullied, and I want to be able to help more people, more children talk about that. There's so much to do and so much time to do it. So yeah, I definitely see there's a lot more for me.
I'd like to invite you to reach out to Karen Palmer, who's part of the Spirituality Gone Wild.
I have.
Okay, because she's got a nonprofit. She's involved in 3 or 4 nonprofits. The one that's, I believe, closest to her heart is for children, educating children and the education system and parents and the communities on bullying. And she actually inspired me through her work to develop a bully-free collection in our product line. And so we've got a bully-free collection link on our page.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I just launched that with Mary a couple of days ago. But I love how you said that you just feel like there's something bigger.
Oh, there's so much more.
Yeah. I know that feeling that you're talking about. You probably didn't always feel that, right?
No, not before. I knew that I had my photography and all that, but if this hadn't happened to me, if I wasn't obese, if I hadn't been raped, I wouldn't have had the wanting to reach out and to help other people. Say, you might go through these things, but it's not the end. Keep going, and I wouldn't have had the courage to be able to step up. I wouldn't have had a story to be able to share with people and help them realize it's okay to feel the way they are.
So, if I may paraphrase you, what I think I just heard is that although what you went through, nobody should ever have to go through, although millions of women across the globe have and continue to deal with it and be ostracized for it. Yet you wouldn't be where you are today if you hadn't gone through that experience. You wouldn't be the person that you are today doing the work that you're doing if you hadn't gone through that painful experience.
Exactly. If I hadn't have been able to push through the pain, I actually just having the surgery, I was panicking because I was feeling all this pain and I just wanted it to stop. And then I took a deep breath in and realized the pain is part of who I am. The darkness, the shadows, you wouldn't have a good picture if you didn't have shadows. You need those shadows to create beauty. You need the dark in order to feel the light. You need the pain to feel the relief. And I felt a lot of pain, more than probably most people have, but I've also come to the other side and I pushed through it, and it does get better if you just push through it. Just get to the other side. You're fine once you're there.
We could go on for probably another 2 hours. There's no doubt. There's so many different paths I'd love to go down with you on. It just means that there's going to be another invite. I'd love to have you come back on because there's a few other topics that I definitely want to dive into with you. But I'd like to respect your time. I'd like to respect those that came on live. Phyllis Tarek just joined us tonight. Phyllis, now this is a woman that, talk about a community. I don't know how old I was when she met my mom and dad, but I was a very young boy. I couldn't be more than maybe 5 or 6, and that's how long she and my mom go back in their friendship. And she comes on sometimes and watches the show or catches it on a replay. And I thank you for being part of the community this evening, Phyllis. And I hope you're having a beautiful evening in Florida. I know it's getting late there. But I'm going to invite you, Deb, at this point to, if you could give the audience that's live or that comes on a replay some parting words. What message would you like to leave with the community this evening?
I would love to just let you know that you're not alone. But you do, in order to not feel alone, you do have to reach out. You do have to say, hey, I'm in pain here. What can I get? It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to receive it. I do feel that's the main parting right there is you may be in pain, but there are people there that have been in pain too, and they can help you on their journey. They might be higher, they might be lower, but they're there to help you. So reach out as much as painful as it might be to reach out for help. You'll get it if you ask.
Thank you for that. Again, I want to thank you for joining the show tonight. It takes tremendous bravery, courage. Barbara Taylor referred to it as badass. And, badass today has a totally new meaning to me, and I know it has a different meaning to you. I think Michael Cameron, your neighbor in Edmonton, is doing a great job as a TED talker, as a TED presenter, and doing the work that he's doing, redefining what the definition of badass means for a real man. And that's why I was so thrilled to have him on my show a couple of weeks ago, Real Men, Real Talk Raw, because he has and continues to redefine what real badass means. And so I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank those that joined us in the community this evening, that participated, that shared their truth, shared their authentic honesty, their vulnerability, that showed their love to you, because you so deserve it, Deb.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited to continue to grow our friendship and see where it takes the two of us together, because we are in this together. We are in this to help each other and to help others that are in pain, to just have, by showing how we have the courage to put our truths out there and to share our hope, which is healing our perspective every day, that we get to help someone else heal whatever the pain is that they're walking through. If it's fear, if it's whatever it is, we don't need to go there right now. But I'm just so blessed to have you in my life. I want to thank you. Thanks for joining me live. And I'm going to part by these are my closing statements right here, right now.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say one last thing. Mm-hmm. Just choose kind, but it's not for others. It's for you. Because once you choose kind for you, then you can give it to others. But you have to be kind to you first.
Yes. Yes. Here's my closing statement is it's the weekend. And that usually means the to-do list. That means errands to run. And most people, a lot of people they kill a Saturday checking off that to-do list, thinking like they're achieving a lot. Mm-hmm. And what that's doing is it's just keeping you really busy, but it's not filling you up. It's really not taking care of you. It's not providing you with that feeling of inner peace or joy or bliss. It's just the to-do list. Mm-hmm. And how important is it? You got to ask yourself 3 questions. How important is it? Is it good for me? And what is my motive? And if you can't answer those 3 questions in a healthy way, then put down that to-do list for a couple hours and do something for you that's going to fill you up, that's going to fuel you up. Choose kind for yourself. Choose love for yourself. Choose compassion for yourself. Choose forgiveness for yourself. Just choose something for yourself that fills you up, that brings you some peace and some gratitude and some serenity. You got 2 days ahead of you. Take some time for yourself, because when you do that, you're going to have more to give to other people. Not mm-hmm. coming from a place of selfishness. It's coming from a place of self-care that then leads to self-love. This is how it works. Trust me, it works. You just got to be willing to trust Deb and I.
Yeah.
We had to learn the hard way.
Yep.
And, that's this smile on my face is here. I just can't wipe it off. It just stays now. It just wasn't always that way. I had to get my brain clear. That water fast is what brought the smile back. It wasn't even the meds. Coming off the meds didn't do it. It was cleaning my brain out from all the meds I had taken through all my surgeries over the past 3 years. Once my brain got regenerated from the water fast, at the end of the 8th day, my brain was healed. And it's amazing what I've gotten done in the last 3 weeks. It's amazing. The most important thing is the smile doesn't go away. I'm just so glad to see it because I had no idea what I looked like with a smile on my face for a long time.
Oh, it looks amazing.
What's that?
Looks amazing.
Thank you. I got one last thing. We got Ceedie. Ceedie, thank you for joining us from St. Thomas. Ceedie is a client of mine who I met face to face 3 years ago at the beginning of my healing journey. And I thank you for joining us tonight and being in this community. All of you have a beautiful weekend. Do some self-care. Take care of yourself. Deb, thanks for being here tonight. And we'll catch you next time. Real men, real talk, raw.
Bye.
Bye.